This next group is my favorite of the night. I'm not biased at all. It's my group. Our student presenter is Ana Cristina Merino, and our team has been working with the Ocean Rescue Alliance. And be sure to check out her earrings. Anna?
We meet again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ana Cristina, and yes, I'm wearing coral earrings. No corals were damaged in the process of making these earrings, in case you were questioning that. And tonight I'm going to be presenting the case and final remarks for our capstone project, which was building a sustainable business model for coastal resilience in South Florida. So before I begin, I'd like to present all of the faces of the members from our team. It was thanks to this really talented sustainability professionals team and of course the advice of Chandler that we were able to finalize or almost finalize this project, so thank you a lot. I'm going to be briefly introducing or reintroducing our client tonight, and then I'm going to proceed to tell you the recommendations for different areas that we broke down our project into, and finally I'm going to conclude my presentation with the implementation roadmap we created for our client. So just to refresh your memories, we work for the Ocean Rescue Alliance International. What is the Ocean Rescue Alliance International doing? They are working with innovative techniques, doing conservation and restoration work for marine environments, like the one you're able to see right here. This is an artificial coral reef that acts as protection for coastal resilience. They also work with underwater structures, like this one, the 1,000 Mermaid Project, which I know can be popular amongst a lot of people who live in mermaids. And so, let's dive into the project scope. How did we carry out our work in the last semester? We did several analyses, like economic analysis, that implied everything that had to do with numbers, from cost-benefit analysis, cash flow analysis. We also conducted social analysis to understand the situation amongst the stakeholders that were most relevant to our client in this ecosystem. Finally, thanks to the numbers and also the figures that we were able to sort out thanks to this analysis, we were able to give out some recommendations. The three areas together allowed us to consolidate a sustainable business model for the Ocean Rescue Alliance International, which was the main objective of this project. So also this analysis allowed us to find several opportunities that our client still has. The first one being creating diversified income streams. They were really centralized and working only with coral reefs, especially the artificial ones. There was a big opportunity to diversify the portfolio of solutions that they had. Also, they're working with the ocean. They have mermaids into play. They're working with species that are potentially endangered. They have a big potential for storytelling. They are also heavily invested in some activities that are not having a big return on investment. And finally, they could be leveraging strategic partnerships way better than they are actually doing. So in view of this, we built our recommendations, which, like I mentioned at the beginning, we broke down into three areas: environmental, economic, and social. Let's begin by talking about the environmental recommendation. As I was mentioning, they are heavily invested only in coral reefs at the moment. However, we believe there's a big potential for them to invest in new solutions, and so we did a cost-benefit analysis to analyze the benefit and costs of some of them. Some of them were artificial structures like jetties and riprap, and other ones were oyster projects and also mangroves. Finally, when the numbers came out, we decided to proceed to recommend mangrove projects since they were having a high ability to sequester carbon out of the atmosphere, so the organization was going to have the capacity to generate blue carbon credits. The financial team conducted some analysis taking peer-reviewed literature recommendations in an average scenario where the organization invested 45,000 USD dollars. We prospected that the scenario in a 30-year path of time, the organization would be able to make $185,000 and also remove 7,700 metric tons of carbon dioxide out of the air. This would be done by planting 10,000 mangrove seedlings, and the project would have a lifetime of 30 years. In the economic area, so we realized by comparing with other peers in the space in other parts of the world that the client could be doing way better engagement with potential donors and actual donors. Again, they're saving the oceans, and we can actually broaden the public audiences that they were targeting through making different tiers of donation available to several types of customers. And therefore, we defined to create a customer relationship strategy that was improved from the one they already had. How are we going to do this? By creating 3 tiers, bronze, silver, and gold. The first one, to adopt a coral. I know a lot of you probably adopted a dog, a cat. Don't lie to me. So we believe that we would have a lot of more traction if people could adopt a coral. This would also mean that they could have ownership of the program and would be updated throughout the time, and they would potentially come back for more in the near future. Memorial plaques, for all of you who don't know what to gift in Valentine's Days, you can actually commemorate your loved one now by putting their names down on a memorial plaque down in the ocean. Finally, for those of you who invested in Bitcoin some years ago, so hopefully you took that money out some years ago too, you can invest in full memorial reefs by owning now a part of a reef underwater. We also are giving out some recommendations through several stakeholders we believe would be cost efficient in order to reach broader audiences like corporations, influencers, and also local events. We want once more to make the tiers as inclusive as possible. So the price ranges would be from $5 all the way to $5,000. Finally, for the social area, I also expect there's a lot of marketing experts in the room, and we know how important impressions are. We did several analyses throughout social media platforms, website, and search engines to determine how searchable, findable, and consistent brand elements for the Ocean Rescue Alliance were. We found a lot of areas of opportunity, from things as simple as not being consistent with colors, not being consistent with fonts, and we know that we really want to give out the impression, since the organization is trustful, that it is trustful and people can engage with us. So we redefined a marketing strategy. The team put together a brand identity and communication toolkit. You're not supposed to read that, don't worry. We just wanted to show what the team created for our clients so that they could have a guide in terms of language, colors, fonts, and the types of stories and audiences they should be reaching out in the next few years and how to do so. Finally, the second part for the social area was community engagement. As I mentioned before, there was heavy investments in some of the activities that were not paying off as good as the company should have been expecting according to our analysis, and there was low engagements on the side of the community. As we know, these people are actually saving local communities by building resilience, so we want to have more people involved and interested in these types of projects. So we put forward a community engagement strategy. The first one being with the Coral Rangers. The Coral Rangers is nowadays an activity where children are able to educate themselves to get their diving certification sponsored by the organization. However, we are trying to broaden the scope, since the organization hopefully is going to work also with mangrove in the near future and is doing a lot more things than only coral reefs. So we are recommending to change the name to Ocean Rangers. We're also recommending to invest more heavily on classroom-based education, since we believe this is going to allow us to reach a broader audience of children, and it's going to awaken a passion in these children about conservation and restoration and its importance in Florida. For the second part of this recommendation, we conducted analysis to identify the areas where there were the most tourism dollars in Florida, in different counties of the region. As we can see in this chart, Monroe and Palm Beach are the ones that are more heavily invested in tourism, and actually quite a big chunk of their GDP depends on tourism dollars. That's why we are recommending the Ocean Rescue Alliance International to target these high ecotourism counties and strengthen the partnerships with diving shops and also some other tourism agencies, so that they can get more and more people involved in their projects and visiting projects just like the Thousand Mermaid one. Finally, for the implementation roadmap that we created, we're first recommending in the short term, 1 to 2 years, for our client to implement the customer relationship marketing and community engagement strategies, since we believe they're going to be less capital intensive and more, they're going to be less complex to put forward. In the medium and long term, as many of us know, a mangrove project and a blue carbon credit can take a lot of time and can be really complex and can be way more capital intensive. We believe that by this point, the company should be able to be more stable in financial and also identity terms, so they're going to be able to do so successfully. So with that being said, thank you so much for your attention. I'm going to open it up.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us more about the mangrove project and how does it have connection with the coral, or it was just a better option in terms of carbon capture?
Right, yeah. So it doesn't have a connection with the coral. We compared it with like several, as I was mentioning, several types of techniques that could be implemented. It was just the one that gave us the most benefits versus the costs that were applied to the project. So that's why also Florida is a mangrove rich area, so we also believe it was the best suitable for the region.
Thank you. I have a question on the timeline slide, which is sort of why the certification of the credits is coming after, I guess, the issuance.
Totally. That's usually the amount of time that it takes to get certified credits, since you need to go through a really long process, especially for blue carbon credits. And according to various standards, which is the ones that we would be recommending the client to put forward, that's approximately the average time to get them.